and welcome to Awakening Through Love, the podcast. I'm Martina Hughes,
I'm Rod Gordon.
and today we're going to be exploring Embodied Alpha, the conscious witness of love. Now, I feel that the best place to start will be to define what Alpha is before we dive into what the embodied experience of Alpha is. Now, those who are familiar with our work will have heard this before, but I think there's always space for a refresher. Would you like to describe or define Alpha for us, please?
Yeah, alpha is essentially the qualities of consciousness, and it exists in all things, like including nature, space, the universe, us as humans, animals. Like it's everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And so the qualities of consciousness, like in simple human word terms, is the qualities of space. So that the vastness, the emptiness of space, also the quality of nothingness, stillness, and the qualities that I'm describing here are all qualities of consciousness that can be displayed through the body as a human, and it's that display that defines the embodiment of consciousness. It's not information or knowledge or any of these sorts of things. They're specific qualities that a person displays through their body, and there's more, but basically at the end of the day, it's that if somebody's meditated and got really still and then got sort of like that sense of being not so much out of the body but beyond the body. So like for me, if I'm doing a meditation, I'll close my eyes, and if I feel the space behind me, it's very hard to feel, but in some ways that's how it feels. It feels like a dark, empty void. And in the darkness, it's not dark like as in what humans would call dark or negative. It's just dark, like as opposed to light. And so in that darkness, if I allow my awareness to fall back, so like down and back into that space, it's like sinking into like a sea or an ocean of like blackness. And there's just nothing happening in that space. And so there's something that, like, as soon as I can touch that in a meditation, there's a part or an aspect of my humanity that starts being nourished, that doesn't get nourished, very often. So, well, in daily life, it doesn't get. Well, it does to some extent, but it never used to.
Yes. It needs to become a conscious practice first.
Yeah. So I've had to choose to allow myself to live from that place. And I don't all the time. I bounce around and all that sort of stuff. But I think really, deep spiritual practitioners or spiritual teachers spend the majority of their time resided, in that space. And so the qualities of that space, the stillness, the silence, the vastness, the emptiness, those qualities through meditation get practiced. And as, for me, as I've practiced them, over the years, there's a natural embodiment that starts to come into life. Because with meditation, the whole point of meditating isn't to have the meditation separate from life. It's eventually to be able to live from that meditative state effortlessly and allow life to arise through that. And in some ways, that's how consciousness works. All life and being arises within consciousness, that empty, vast space of nothingness. That nothingness is like no preference, no condition. So it's like an invitation then for infinite possibility to arise within it. And so within the space of consciousness gives birth to all aspects of life. And so by allowing, my being or myself, I don't know how to put words on it, to bathe or reside in that space of consciousness, in my morning practice, but then throughout my day, also begins to allow infinite possibility to be born into my life,
Mm.
rather than me having to do or be or push or strive or whatever. Can actually start to connect with something greater than myself that can actually begin to then direct life.
Mm.
It still moves slow,
Yes.
especially through the body.
Yes.
But yeah, so alpha, when we use the word alpha, what we're really referencing is consciousness.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
And, you could ask the question, is it even necessary to have another word besides consciousness?
Mm-hmm.
But most people want something to embody. And consciousness is so specific and so vast and non-specific at the same time. It's really hard to point to.
Yes.
So words help people connect to these things initially, but at some point, the value of the words falls away because that does no longer conveys the actual experience.
Mm.
But we need a pointer or a reference point to start from. And so this is where we start from.
Yeah. Yeah. And it supports our exploration of sacred intimacy from that experience of one partner embodying alpha and the other partner embodying omega. So it gives us a reference point to work from within sacred intimacy.
Yeah, there has to be something. It's kind of like, for me, alpha and omega are the two aspects of love, but without them, we can't talk about love or life or anything because love's so pure and so whole. There's nothing to say. Words don't even get close to capturing the experience. Like, I know for me, even thoughts, like there's no amount of thinking about falling in love. I can think about it and that stirs feelings in my body, but it is not even close to the experience of falling in love. So
Yes.
there's, yeah, words sort of fall away at some point and lose their value. But I think we need something to talk about if we want to have conversations about those things and create space for this to grow in our lives. We have to be able to put words on it first, despite the fact they're inadequate,
Yes.
which, does bring about that feeling of just failing all the time.
There was something that you said that I wanted to tease out. You referenced alpha and being in that state of consciousness as beyond the body rather than out of the body. And I think that a lot of times people aim or intend to be out of the body, but there's a really distinct difference being beyond the body. So I'd love you to speak to that difference because it is essential to what we're working with here.
Yeah, in some ways, it's like a byproduct of modern religion in many ways. But for most people, spirituality or spirit is something they have to reach for that's outside of themselves. And in many ways, that's what religion has brought to us, that, spirit or God or universe or whatever you call that thing that's bigger than yourself is outside of us. Like, in religion, you have to go through a priest or a rabbi or a minister or whatever the modality is. I don't understand them all, to be able to access God. And so there's this, unconsciously throughout our lives, there's a belief that exists there that spirit or God is somehow separate and we have to do something specific to be connected to that, which isn't true. So automatically, most people try to be spiritual. And as soon as that sort of happens, it says the body is wrong and spirit is better, or words similar to that. I don't know the words to say that, but it's spirituality or spirit is something outside of themselves. And that's not actually true. It can be accessed most fully through the body, because everything that I experience about spirituality, I feel or experience inside my body. It's literally the vessel. So spirit or spirituality is something that really exists within us, but not in the ways that I think people believe. Even the origins of the word spiritual, like what does spiritual mean? And the breakdown and the origins of the word is spirit is like air, and yul means to breathe. So to be spiritual is the one who knows how to breathe. Now, to some extent, if you're listening to this, you're doing that. Now, there's lots of different breathing practices out there, and there's lots of different ways to breathe. And in some ways, it does reference specific breath. But at the same time, that's what it means to be spiritual. Is to be the one who knows how to breathe. And so it's not an esoteric, outside of the body, disconnected experience. In fact, you can only be spiritual if you're in a body, because without the body, you're not breathing. So to connect to spirit is done specifically through the body, as deep roots in connection with the breath, and then everything else that arises through the body from that.
Yeah.
There's infinite projections from humans of what spiritual is. You need to have all these deities and dangly things and shiny things and an altar, and you need to pray and do all that. But literally the act of breathing in and out is just so sacred. There's nothing more sacred than this moment right now. And we don't need to add anything to that for it to be spiritual.
Yeah.
So it's not separate from us, but it's bigger than us.
Yes.
So beyond the body, for me, is describing the one, it includes the body and my experiences here, and it acknowledges that there's much more experience beyond the body that I'm not familiar or aware of, but also open and curious to experiencing, seeing, or feeling.
So it's much more beyond the body. Feels to me embracing and all-encompassing rather than disconnecting or disassociating, which the out of the body often feels like.
Yeah, if there's any sense that we have to do something specific to be spiritual or connected to consciousness, then we've missed the mark already. Yeah.
Thank you. So let's have a look, because part of what we explore in our work is that there are specific ways that a man or a woman can hold their body, hold their posture, hold their breath in order to display or to create that experience of holding an alpha quality in a given moment. So, and it's adopting some of that embodiment of alpha that can change the quality of energy in the room, because how we're holding our bodies, whether we're like this or whether we're like this. And for those who are listening, the first this was a crunched and contracted forward position. The second this was an open-hearted, open-chested, shoulders back position. So however the body is being held, whether you're a man or a woman, has an effect on other people. So these specific embodiments, can you speak to what it is in the physical body that will convey to others this sense of an alpha embodiment?
Yeah. It's literally the embodiment of the qualities of consciousness is how it's embodied. So, and just to be clear on like embodiment, like some really beautiful, like traditional, historic type moments that we see like alpha or omega embodiment is like a woman who walks in and lights up the room. That's omega embodiment. There's that display of love and light and brightness that's radiating through her in that moment is an omega display. There's not many men that walk into a room and light a room up. Like if we're just talking, historically, men and women, all that sort of stuff. But there is men that walk into the room and everyone stops what they're doing and pays attention. And usually he's like a leader. I don't want to use the word alpha male because it confuses what we're talking about. Alpha has nothing to do with being an alpha male, but there's quite often, powerful people, men or women that walk into a room, everyone stops what they're doing and just all of a sudden quiet comes over the room and they just start to listen, because that person who's walked into that room, there's a feeling in the body that there's a presence in them, that they're a leader, or that they've got something important to say or an important role, and it's felt through the body. That's a form of embodiment.
Mm.
And so alpha embodiment, the first one would, be the internal stillness. That's the first one that comes to my mind. And it's, probably the most difficult to create,
Mm.
because it requires a skillful relationship to the emotional experience. It's not stoic where we're devoid of feeling or emotion. We're feeling everything so deeply, so fully, without any reactivity, which is called equanimity.
Mm.
So it's being so deeply sensitive as a man to the moment
Mm-hmm.
and to what's happening, not just in my own body, but in another person's body and in all the people like around me, and noticing that, feeling that, but not reacting to it, allowing it to be as it is, to feel however it feels. And within that, for me, staying present means being aware of those feeling sensations and how they're moving in my body, being aware of any thoughts that are generated by those feelings, or if any of the emotions are being generated by the thoughts, noticing all that happening and recognizing that I'm noticing all that. And so then within that, I'm not my thoughts and I'm not my feelings. So there's no point reacting to those, but it is valuable to notice them, but neither of them mean anything. They're completely fucking valueless.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's allowing all that to play out. And then, depending on what I'm doing in that moment, whatever the purpose is for being, wherever that is, it's allowing what is of the most service, what is going to magnify or create the most love or the most value in this moment. How do I show up and be that? So how do I be, the most loving person in the room at the same time as feel hurt, pain, discomfort, maybe guilt or shame, negative thoughts saying I'm not good enough or worthy enough or whatever, and hold space and be there for that person without reacting into any of that, conditioned internal traumatic dialogue that wants to just autopilot play out.
Mm.
And so that stillness then becomes, it's sort of, the stillness is almost around all that activity and through it.
Mm.
And it's like the activity's happening, but the part that's noticing all those things, is still.
Yes.
And then that is experienced by others as stillness.
Mm.
So that would be the first one.
Mm.
And go on.
Yeah. Just wanted to say how beautifully I experienced that, what you just described, like that is the conscious witness of love, like that quality of stillness that you just described.
Mm.
That is essentially the subtitle of this topic. It's like the conscious witness of love, and that a man can embody that, a woman can embody that. And you said like that distinction between the stoicism and the stillness. It's like in the stillness, acknowledging the feelings, the thoughts, allowing the spaciousness to include everything. So there's no bypassing, no white knuckling, no jumping over the top of anything. It's like in that conscious witness of love, in that stillness, everything is present. And it's such a deep internal training to be able to hold that level of stillness. So, I just wanted to tease a little bit more out of that stillness before we went on to other elements.
No, I love what you shared. That was amazing.
Mm.
And yeah, and that takes time and practice to cultivate.
Mm.
It is essentially, it's effortless. But anyone who's done anything effortlessly knows how much training and bloody practice goes into making something look effortless. Like
Yeah.
true professionals, true artists of their gift, make whatever they're doing look effortless,
Mm.
but it's the years of practice that have
Mm.
allowed it to become effortless. So without that conscious, intentional, focused practice,
Yes.
it never happens.
Mm.
Ever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And it is such a dedication to being in the moment and being able to hold all the things that are arising without reacting. It's such a devotion to, here's this feeling, here's this thought, here's this discomfort, here's this pain, here's this thought, like whatever's there, without identifying, engaging, and allowing space for everything to be arising exactly as it is.
Yeah, there's sincere seeking of the deepest truth,
Mm,
especially for an alpha practitioner.
mm,
And in that moment, that's exactly what's happening. Within the
mm,
stillness, not really a desire, but there's a there's a seeking of truth, or a being open towards seeing the deepest truth.
mm,
And that means letting go of the personal perspectives.
mm,
And as a person becomes more aware, which is more conscious, like for me, like I don't, if I see something happening, an argument or a fight or something out in the world, there's no part of me that goes, oh, that's wrong or that shouldn't be happening. It's just curious. It's like, oh, I wonder what's happening for those people.
mm,
And, each one of those people will have a fixed belief about whatever's happening.
mm,
But I know for me, there's like usually multiple angles that I can see something from. And it feels that the more aware somebody becomes, the more conscious they become, they start seeing more and more. And
mm,
so there'll be people out there that can see all the angles.
mhm.
This is an argument. These people see one point each. There'll be
Yes.
someone around going, oh, I can see that. Yeah, 10 different ways that you're both right, and 10 different ways that you're both wrong, and see all the angles. And it's like, then there's no fixed belief about right or wrong in that at all. It's just like, wow, there's so much happening here in this moment, and it's interesting, and I'm curious about it, but I'm not for or against anything.
Mm,
And
mm.
so the more aware someone is, the more they see. It's
Yes.
a real key indicator of, they won't often have a belief either way because
Mm,
they see too many angles to go any one of them could be right, because essentially, depending on where you're standing and how you want to see it, they actually are all right.
mm.
They are all correct. It
Yes.
just depends on where you see, what you've experienced, how much you're aware of, is going to determine your experience of that moment and what's happening, and any beliefs or non-beliefs that arise from that.
Mm, mm. And one of the examples that I've often heard you use around this experience of embodying the alpha is that moment that has happened for each of us in our partner practice, whereby, if I speak from my personal experience, there's times where I've been holding alpha for you, creating that space for you to go into your omega expression of your feelings. And I may have been aware of hurt and things in holding that space, and even had tears rolling down my face, but still very much being able to hold the alpha for you. Because there's
Mm.
that sense of, in the alpha, my attention, my awareness is holding you and your experience. So even if tears are rolling down my face, I don't need to do anything with that or identify or solve or fix it. And equally, if tears roll down your face, I don't need to solve or fix or change anything. So there's this experience in alpha of very much allowing what's arising.
Yeah. Yeah. There's, there's
Go, yeah.
yeah, in the allowing, it's part of the effortlessness. And the emotions are more similar to weather patterns.
Mm,
So it can be a beautiful sunny day, and then a rain squall comes through,
mm,
depending on where you live. And it can happen more or less. But so the rain squall comes through. Like, I don't know about you, but I don't go outside and go, you're so wrong, you shouldn't be raining. Like, it's that judging and criticizing and blaming the weather. It's just like, oh, it's raining. I'll make an adjustment. It stops
mm,
raining. I'll make an adjustment. So internally, it's kind of like that. Tears are arising. Okay, there's some kind of sadness passing through my system right now. Now, the important thing is, there's a difference between, well, can you feel the difference between me saying there's sadness passing through my system and I'm sad.
Mm.
Feel
Mhm.
the difference?
Mm. Massive. Yeah.
Yeah. So as soon as I say I'm sad, I'm literally creating a self. Like
Mm.
I'm identifying as the quality of sadness.
Mm.
It's a massive mistake
Mm.
because I'm not sad. I'm experiencing sadness.
Mm.
But just saying I'm sad, it creates this whole identity. And now it's like, well, if I'm sad, that's not okay. Because in society, sad's, on the negative side of things, which is not true at all, but
Mm.
that's how it is experienced or
Mm.
spoken about. But if I'm in a negative state, well, then that's a problem. And
Mm.
now I need to fix it.
Yes.
Now, all of a sudden, I've made my own emotional experience a problem I need to fix.
Mhm.
And for the women that are listening out there, if you've ever had a man treat your emotions or your feelings as a problem that needs to be fixed, this is how it starts internally. And so it's that they will know very well how that feels, and it's horrible.
Yeah.
And so the moment that I do that, I'm doing that to myself.
Mm. Mhm.
So there's a big difference between recognizing the experience of an emotion coming through my body and allowing it to play out start to finish. Because if I interrupt the process, emotions and feelings don't just go away, even if the sensation of them's gone away.
Mm.
It means that they haven't been felt all the way through because there's a distinct feeling with feelings. They never come from the top down. They always seem to be rising up from the belly, which is where they come from. The energy center they arise from is in the belly. So there's always a feeling of them coming up. And if we don't allow them to come up and feel them fully, they don't pass through the body. They go back down, they get stored.
Mhm.
And so every feeling that we've never felt at some point in our lives requires being felt.
Mm.
And so if we interrupt that process, it doesn't go all the way through. If we stay with the process, if we're just aware that the feelings are present and we allow those sensations to be there, when they're ready, they'll move. It'll feel like they're coming up. And it literally kind of feels like steam evaporating off water. They just slowly leave the body. And then either there'll be nothing present and there'll
Mhm.
be a real peacefulness in the lower body, or another feeling will arise. And it's kind of like an excavation, layer after layer after layer will come through until you get to the very root.
Mm.
And so the alpha practice is to notice that that's happening, that the feelings are arising in the body, but not to identify with it or as it.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so it's simply to recognize, hurt's present, sadness is present, vulnerability is present, worthless, powerless, whatever the feeling or the emotion is. I was like, that's present right now. That's the feeling experience. So just allowing it to be there, I don't have to do anything because my body's feeling it. I can stay present and aware with my attention on that person at the same time as noticing there's feelings in my body.
Mm.
And that's literally all it is.
Yeah.
Now, it's simple. It's just not particularly easy because feelings and emotions, we've been trained to hook onto them,
Mm.
to allow them to hook our attention.
Mm.
And that means then once our attention's on them, we start to identify as them. And once we do that, we're screwed.
Yes.
We're
And
stuck in a pattern then.
yeah, and just in that experience of holding space for someone, if there's emotions arising and if I identify with those emotions, I'm going to then get myself tangled in in something that doesn't serve holding space. So what
Yeah.
I mean by that, if I'm like, oh, if I have this feeling or thought arising that I'm worthless or powerless or doing something wrong, then all of a sudden my behavior is going to become tangled and somehow driven to change what's happening, rather than if I can rest in the alpha space of consciousness of allowing what's arising, then I leave space for what's arising in me, but also space for what's arising in the other.
Yeah. And if you were to go into your own feelings, like you're holding space for someone, they say or do something, you have all these feelings arise, even just saying, when you said that, I felt this and I felt that, no longer holding space for that
Mm.
person. So now they've been abandoned right in the middle of their own feeling process.
Yeah.
And that kind of feels like being discarded, which
Mm.
now when that happens, a person, the feeler is always highly reactive, highly sensitive.
Mm.
They'll react to that and close down.
Yep.
And so then their experience is, "Oh, it's not safe to feel around you."
Mm.
And so whether it's a man or woman holding the space, the other partner will not feel safe to feel or access their feelings when their partner is constantly reacting to their own.
Mm.
And in our culture, most people are taught to, they don't know this, but they've been taught to react to their feelings. Even talking about your feelings in many ways is a reaction to them. There is conscious ways to do that and to use that to become more aware and then to serve a deepening in your capacity to feel. But interrupting someone while they're feeling with our own feeling experience is kind of like an act of violence,
Mm.
because that we've invited this person to expose themselves, to be vulnerable and share how they feel. And then as soon as they've said something that's uncomfortable for us, we've just dived into our own shit and just
Mm.
left them there.
Yeah.
It's just abusive.
Yeah.
And so most of the emotional stuff in people's relationships and how they're being taught to relate to their emotions is primarily a form of abuse.
Mm.
And so there really needs to be a mega landscape shift if people really want to come out of that painful interaction in their intimate relationships. Of it's just a constant state of each person reacting to the other.
Mm.
And what it builds is division and disconnection. It drives people apart and it creates the feeling of growing apart,
Mm.
because people end up believing they're going in different directions, whereas really no one's taught them how to skillfully relate to their own emotional experience, how to hold space skillfully, and how to be there for another person in a way that allows them to unfurl and unravel and find the deepest truth that's causing them hurt and pain, and then releasing that, or
Mm.
inquiring on that so that it's liberated. And you can't get to that point when another person's reacting to their own feelings. You can't get deep at all. Everything stays on the surface and shallow. Both people are usually left longing for more, and one person will be really hurting and feeling alone in that, or both partners can be. So
Mm.
it's just, it depends, but usually it plays out in some form of that.
Mm. Mm. Yeah, beautiful description for sure. So, so many directions we could go to from here, but I guess what I would love to explore from that is how we can use our alpha skillfully and embody alpha skillfully for creating safety in a moment. So when we began speaking about the embodiment of alpha through a person's body, you spoke about the stillness, and we've kind of explored the feelings and everything that is not stillness, but how to relate more skillfully with that. But specifically, how does a person hold their body and their posture in a way that conveys that quality of stillness to another person?
Yeah. Well, the most important thing really is that the stillness is there,
Mm.
because it becomes practice. Practice becomes self-evident,
Mm.
which means there's no need to describe. When something's embodied, it's there. So if somebody has to do that,
Mm.
they're already not embodying it.
Yes.
And so, and there needs to be a place to start,
Yes.
but you'd practice it in your meditation. So to embody alpha, we want to have the spine straight,
Mm-hmm.
because that erect, straight spine, it feels safe. It's like a tall tree. It's like if you've got a big, tall tree with really strong, grounded roots,
Mm-hmm.
if you were to sit and lean against that, it's like, oh, you can lean against that strength.
Mm.
So the stillness of that trunk and its deep roots feels like strength. So
Mm.
stillness in a man feels like strength,
Yeah.
which is why it feels so safe to be around. It's like, oh, this man's strong. It's like, oh, he can handle all my feelings. He's not going to move. Nothing's going to happen. No matter how I feel, I can be all of who I am.
Mm.
So for the feeling person to be around someone who can embody alpha, it feels safe because of the internal stillness, which is interpreted or experienced as strength, the non-reactivity. So to embody it, first place, straight spine. Next part, deep breath. Deep, and when I say deep, it's not like you're not sitting there Wim Hofing it to someone like Yeah, I've got you. I'm present. It's
a lot of efforting there, right?
yeah. There's no effort. So it's a deep, relaxed belly breath.
Mm,
Like I'm doing the deep, relaxed belly breath now. Whereas
mm,
if I was to breathe from my lungs and take shallower breaths, can you hear the tightness in my voice? But it doesn't feel still anymore. It feels activated, like there's energy. So if my body's like that, usually there's some emotion or something stored in my body, and I don't have access to the fullness of my breath, which I just adjusted then as I spoke. So deep, full breath. The next part is a really relaxed front surface of the body, because only a body free of tension can can feel. So if I've got tension in the front of my body, the tension is so dense, I can't notice the subtle nuance of emotion or feeling. So for most people, their forms of protection in their life will create tension in their body. So in our meditations, I'll always say some point, it's always about releasing tension, because stored emotion, stored trauma, stored reactivity and protection will all show up as some form of tension in the body. So we're looking to unravel the tension, which then will release the feelings, because whilst the tension's there, can't notice the subtleness of emotions or feelings stored in the body, because their vibration is so different to the density of the body. And so we need to liberate tension. So that softness that's there allows feeling to move through my body. And if I give my body permission to feel, and it says, like, my spine's straight, my breath is deep, my front of my belly soft, it says to my body, it's safe to feel. It's safe for you to be all of who you are. Now, if I can say that to my own body in the face of my own emotions and feelings, what does that give permission to for your body?
Then my body can soften, relax, open, and allow space for all of my feelings.
Yeah. Like science would call it the mirror neurons in the body and how they respond to another's body. So by creating that space within myself, it gives the people around me permission to be all of who they are, which is unconditional love, is the radical acceptance of the person, place, or moment, whatever the context. It's the acceptance of that exactly as it is without needing it to be different. So if I can embody that stillness in my own body in the face of my own emotions, that in itself is a state of unconditional love. That gives full permission for the people around me to receive that, but to also be that and to allow that internal unconditional love to begin to unravel within them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So straight spine, deep breath, relaxed front surface of the body. And the other things would be, like, to add to that, it's literally stillness. So no fidgeting, itching, scratching, twitching, looking around. So any kind of movement is not stillness. So another way to embody alpha is to be very, very still in the body. And it's usually very uncomfortable. Like when I first learned, there'd be an itch, there'd be something I'd want to, fidget, twitch, like all these little things, tap my fingers, tap my toes, count the rows in the carpet. Ants crawling up the wall, anything, because I wanted anything to distract me from the discomfort of being still. Because the moment I'm still, I notice the energy moving in my body. Energy moving feels really uncomfortable, whether it's, good or bad in little quotes. It still feels uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Really good feelings at an intense level feel excruciatingly uncomfortable. Negative feelings at a really intense level feel really uncomfortable. So the moment a person begins to attempt to get still, any energy that's been stored in the body that hasn't been felt, so feelings that haven't been felt, anything that's been stored in the body, as soon as you become still, creates a space for it to move. And so that is excruciatingly uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And so that process has to happen for a while. And it could be all different times. I don't want to put a time on it, but at some point the nervous system regulates to the discomfort of the energy, and then it's start noticing the flavor of the discomfort. Because at first it's just uncomfortable. So discomfort's kind of like the surface, and we start to notice the nuance. It's like, oh, wow, I feel uncomfortable. It's like, oh, I feel powerless. Like I'm not, I feel weak because I don't know what's happening, and I'm struggling to be with it. So now I feel weak. Now I feel worthless as well. It's like, oh wow, worthless is present. These are all really uncomfortable feelings to sit with. But as I was feeling those and saying those, I'm moving down in layers, deeper and deeper, which means if I'm feeling the deeper and deeper subtleties, the other ones are burning off. So I'm actually burning through them. And that's what you want to have. And that's kind of how it feels. It's like the nervous system and the body, the feelings as they're felt evaporate. It's kind of like they get burnt off. But then when there's less stored feelings in the body, like if I have a whole heap of stored feelings in my body and I don't want to feel them, now I have to avoid feeling them if I don't want to feel them. Now I need to avoid certain conversations. I need to avoid certain words. Now I need to control what people say, because if you say these things, it's going to trigger all these emotions in my body that I don't want to feel. So you need to behave this way, and you need to speak like this, and you need to do these ones and whatever. And so now my behavior is being directed by my desire to avoid the feelings. And that's usually how these things play out, is these stored feelings in the body direct our behavior and dictate who we become, rather than us consciously choosing our own evolutionary path and who we want to be in the world. So the first part of that stillness and silence is being willing to sit with the discomfort that's going to rise in your body and just allow it to be there till it moves on its own, and just feeling it fully. So stillness, straight spine, deep breath, no fidgeting, itching, or scratching, because all that fidgeting and twitching and doing stuff is just being driven from the feelings and emotions that don't want to be felt in the body. And that's the place to start.
Yeah. And if there's one thing I really want to underline from what you just said, it's the willingness to feel discomfort, because it'll be the willingness to feel discomfort that creates the possibility of just relaxing back into the spine, opening the front of the body, and just going, just going to breathe and be here. I don't need to fix or change myself or anybody else. I'm willing to lean back into my spine, open the front surface of the body, and be here for whatever is arising. So I'm going to be repetitive, but I'm going to say it again. The willingness to feel discomfort is a key component of learning to embody alpha.
Yeah. And we should touch on how that comes about, because most people wouldn't recognize that they're avoiding discomfort.
Yeah. There's one practical thing I want to touch before we speak to that, and that is, and both of us speak with our hands, so it's a little bit why it's present for me. In alpha embodiment, what's happening with somebody's hands if I was holding the posture of alpha to communicate that stillness, what would I do with my hands?
Face down on the thighs would be the way.
Yeah.
I heard a really good distinction once. It was Justin was the one who gave it. It's like, if you're in a space, and especially if you're holding space, you want to offer something to the space. So if you want to offer something to the space, it's hands face down on the palms. If you're looking to receive something, it's palms face up. So if you are the person being held space, where you can have your hands facing up or down, but if you're holding space, hands face down, just on the thighs, relaxed.
Yeah, and I find that incredibly grounding, is having the palms face down on the thighs. It's like there's something about that that almost supports that feeling of roots going down.
Yeah, yeah. And like, I've seen people in workshop space, like, it might be a man holding space for a woman and he has his hands facing up. And it's just, the dynamics and the energy dynamics feels all off in that. So we'll usually correct that, but it's quite physically palpable that if you're sensitive and can feel those things, the feeling of it, it's quite dysregulating if they're holding space. If they're receiving, no, it's fine.
Yes.
But there's something really, and I think meditating like that, if you're receiving something from the universe, like there's lots of different, mudras and things you can do with your hands or whatever when you're meditating. There's a different scenario, and different tools for different things.
Oh, of
And
course.
so for holding space specifically, yeah, hands relaxed, palms face down, preferably on the thighs, depending where you or how you're sitting. If you're on as long as they're face down.
Yeah. Yeah, beautiful. So coming back to what you wanted to explore around the mastering of discomfort.
Oh, yeah. Most people won't recognize that they're avoiding discomfort.
Mm.
So it's something we say,
Mm-hmm.
and some people go, oh, yeah, I know what you mean.
Mm-hmm.
But they won't recognize that every human does it to some extent. It can fall away for sure. But we're talking about people at really high levels.
Yes.
And we teach this stuff. Still hasn't happened for me. Hasn't happened for my teacher as far as I know. So I'm sure there's an evolution of human that can reach that. But for the average majority, or not even the average, just for the majority, that's not going to be it.
And one thing we referenced in a recent conversation around the embodiment of alpha is how there is no doneness. There's no getting to a place where, oh, I'm so conscious, I'm so alpha that I've done it. Tick. Yeah. It's like there's no doneness. So that relates to the mastering of discomfort. I'll go through stages where I'm like, oh, I'm so good with my feelings. I'm like, I'm really, I'm getting it and not avoiding them.
That's like a red rag to the universe, sweet. Don't do it to yourself.
Exactly. I'll have moments of it, and then the next week, slap around the face. Oh, I was avoiding that thing and I didn't even notice.
Exactly. And this is the thing. What you just said then's the perfect segue, because we didn't even notice. This is the desire to avoid discomfort. Sorry, not comfort. The desire to avoid discomfort grows in the shadow. It doesn't happen consciously, and we're never aware that it's happening. And the easy thing to see in our culture is the desire for comfort. Every modern device, every modern thing that's being created ever has been about making life easier. Making life easier is seeking comfort. And so what happens when we're constantly seeking comfort, whether we know it or not, and seeking life to be easier, to get more done, like there's nothing wrong with these things. Like we're not saying they're wrong. But what happens in the shadow, if I'm practicing seeking comfort all the time, what happens alongside that, if I'm not consciously practicing being in discomfort, what happens with the desire that goes along with that is that we have less and less capacity to experience discomfort because our nervous system's always steeping or seeking comfort. So in the shadow side of seeking comfort is the aversion to discomfort. So some ways I see people, consciously, not always consciously, but can seek discomfort. Like running marathons is a good way to seek discomfort and not, spend too much time in comfort. It's not that spending too much time in comfort is even wrong. As long as you can spend as much time in comfort as you want, as long as you're 100% willing to lean into and experience discomfort.
Yes.
It's only if we totally seeking comfort and we make discomfort wrong, we're screwed. Absolutely fucked at that point.
Because then there's no capacity to be with the internal
discomfort.
Experience.
Ice baths are a great way to experience discomfort. Physical work, running, exercise, going to the gym, yoga.
10-day Vipassana retreat.
10-day Vipassana, yeah, that's a ripper. Any of those kind of things that are uncomfortable is really good for us to do in moderation. So that we're not avoiding it, because usually, like in a moment of, say, conflict with a couple, the first thing that happens is when one person's upset is discomfort. Now, if I have an aversion to experiencing discomfort, Now I want to get out of this situation as fast as I can. I need this person to shut up or be quiet or stop talking or not say what they're saying, or I don't want to hear what they're saying if it's about me and I want to get out of there.
Mm.
Now my aversion to discomfort is creating a massive divide in my intimacy and relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And now major suffering is imminent.
Mm.
Because I don't know about you, but for me and in people that I see, if their relationship is rocky or in upheaval or, disconnect, basically can't even have a good day. Because you
Yes.
can go to work and someone can tell a joke, but you know what? It won't be as bloody funny if your relationship's crap
Oh,
and you're fine with your partner. It's so
everything feels like hell when there's something rocky in the relationship. Life is so tough. Yeah.
exactly. And that's what people don't realize. The value of doing relationship work is that if your relationship's not good, your whole life is suffering. If your relationship's great, even the shittest thing that happens out in life isn't that bad when you've got a great relationship.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
And so this aversion to discomfort poisons our intimacy and our relationship because it poisons our capacity to be with the uncomfortable emotional feelings or intense or strong emotional feelings, which all create discomfort, whether they're good or bad.
Yeah.
Which means we can't receive the really good because of the discomfort, we'll avoid it.
Yeah.
Can't receive the really bad because of the discomfort, we'll avoid it.
Mm.
It means life gets shrunk down into a really small, minute area.
Mm.
But for it to open up, for us to be fully available for all of life, if we're willing to experience the intensity of comfort and the full intensity of discomfort, we're no longer bound by that duality. We're free.
Yes.
We're liberated. We can go between one or the other. It's like, okay, life's really uncomfortable right now. That's something for me I definitely experience because I experience depression. And so when I'm when depression's present, then it's like being with that. If I fall into it and just feel it fully, is that I can be with that and still enjoy life to some degree. It will have that permeation of depression there, but I'm also not avoiding the depression. When I avoid the depression and make it wrong as something I need to fix, oh my God, I suffer so deeply. It's not funny. And so our aversion to discomfort, it permeates every aspect of life. And right down even to foods and tiny little interactions that we have with people, it affects every aspect of life when we're avoiding discomfort.
Yeah.
So that willingness is like, it's 100% essential to be willing to. And the only way to get good at being with discomfort is to allow yourself to feel it so fully that your nervous system regulates to it. And when your nervous system can regulate to discomfort, it can allow it to be there. And eventually what happens is what was once really uncomfortable, if I allow myself to feel it fully, it's no longer, it's like, oh, there's that thing. Oh God, I used to react so much to that. I don't even care now. It's like, okay, I've regulated to that discomfort. Now there'll be a more intense one life will bring along. I'll regulate to that. And then all of a sudden there's a whole lot of stuff I no longer need to avoid or get away from, which means I'm free. Like an experience like, oh, these things here. Okay, cool. Depression's here. Suicidal thoughts are here. This sort of stuff's arising. Okay, yeah, I notice that. I can feel that and I don't believe it. It's not true. I don't want to do that. But you can be with some really dark and intense experiences if we're not avoiding them. And we can still have a really good day and laugh and play and have fun. And all this stuff can be actually, for me, going on internally at different times. So once there's a willingness there to lean into whatever life's bringing in that moment, basically we're free.
Yeah.
So having the willingness to feel and experience discomfort is an incredibly powerful tool to have in the belt. And in some ways, it is alpha embodiment.
Yeah.
And it's essential for all human beings, regardless of gender, age, or any of the other stuff that people talk about. A woman needs that level of alpha embodiment to have full access to her own feelings, or she's the feeler in her is not safe to feel when that's not available. With her own level of consciousness and reactivity to her own feeling experience is not, if she can't be present to that, then she can never be truly present to her own feelings, which is devastating for a woman because so much of the Omega experience is through the feeling. Life is felt rather than seen. For Alpha, life is seen more than it's felt. And so we all have both, but the dance between the two is different in each human. And so if we don't have access to our feelings, it's devastating.
Mm.
But for, an omega-hearted person, they don't have their own alpha, they can never get to the fullness of their own omega.
Yeah.
So it's essential
Yeah.
for both partners in an intimacy, regardless of gender or how they identify or whatever,
Mm.
it's essential to have a
Yeah.
capacity for alpha for their own sake and for their partner's sake.
Yeah. Yeah. And it very much what you're describing there, my experience of working with that is that it'll create an internal experience of stuckness. It'll be a sense of like if the alpha hasn't been deeply cultivated, and then the omega doesn't feel safe to feel, then it creates this sense of stuckness. But then in that stuckness, there can be a tendency to look outside for reference around how do I feel, what's going on, what's happening, rather than having the pathways or the permission or the access to really go within and learning how to go within and cultivate that capacity for the inner marriage, the seer being able to see deeply, the feeler being able to feel fully and widely. It's such a rich journey. And having access to those internally, as you've said, whether it's for a man or a woman, does then change the way it shows up in the external relationship as well.
Absolutely, yeah. It can't not, because it all starts within.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's essential, I think, for both partners to have that capacity, because both partners need to have access to their feelings.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I see a lot of women struggle to even know how to hold space or even have the inclination to hold space for their partner's feelings. And so, in order for men to feel safe to open up their feeling nature, a woman needs to have cultivated that alpha in her relationship to her own feelings. If she's reacting to her own feelings, then her partner's not going to feel safe for him to be able to open up his feeling nature. So, yeah, there's a whole lot that we work with in our work to support women and men to be able to have more access to their feelings and to being able to embody alpha. So, let me just check. Do we have a time here anywhere of how long we've been podcasting? We're at about an hour. Is there anything else you would love to say about the embodiment of alpha?
Yeah, the fastest, most effective way is through meditation,
Mm-hmm.
because it's just the act of doing it is the embodiment, essentially, of all things alpha.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say that, I don't mean one of those fluffy, floaty meditations. And they're fine if that's you want peace or space or your nervous system needs that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But if you want to cultivate alpha qualities, it needs to be a stillness orientated meditation. And so obviously we have heaps in the resource library. People can use those. But, if for people that are listening who aren't, members of Intimacy Oasis, Vipassana meditation's really good, like going to a 10-day sit. That's a really good stillness one. Any breath counting would be a really good one. Anything that allows, the mind to be focused and to become still. And so it's some form of concentration meditation is where I would start with.
Yeah.
And something like it can be guided, but not with music, because the music in many ways is a distraction that allows comfort for the emotional body. And so the emotional body, the feelings will be uncomfortable. And so we're more beneficial to sit in the discomfort. If it's super intense, then start somewhere, but have a plan of transitioning to stillness and silence. And yeah, any meditation that starts there is a fantastic place to look to alpha embodiment or in consciousness. That's why there's some form of meditation in every spirituality or religion that's ever existed, and it's there for a reason. It's not been across all the different religions and all the different spiritual modalities, all of them for no reason.
Mm-hmm.
And so, both prayer and meditation are present in all those things. So for the embodiment of Alpha, yeah, meditation.
Yeah. And I'm looking forward to the journey we're going to take our Intimacy Oasis members on this coming month in the exploration of Alpha embodiment and really supporting people to cultivate that deeper knowing and trusting of the Alpha embodiment. So it feels like that brings us to a close for today.
Beautiful.
And if anybody's listening to this and you're not an Intimacy Oasis member, we'll pop a link below so that you can join us.
Yeah, I think too, in terms of Alpha embodiment, we have not covered everything here today. Just a few tiny little aspects. I just want to point to that. This is by no way complete. And that would be almost impossible.
Yeah, there will always be further avenues to dive into. So, yeah, it feels like we've given people a good taste of stepping into Alpha embodiment.
Good start.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you.